think it's working. I believe. I think it's up and running. Double check that on my tablet. Let's see. Oh, yep. I can see it on my tablet. Alright, well then. There we go. Alright. So, I am now live. Clear this crap out. And yes. How's it going? Sorry, I think I'm all set up now. I was playing with bringing in assets and I wiped out all my layers and tags. What a pain in the bum. So, how's it going today anyways? I'm just playing with various things. My little pixel art. Actually been doing piles of pixel art. Made this earlier. It's for one of my projects I got going on. Thanks. Yeah, actually I was looking for that inventory that I have on my live stream and I can't seem to find it right now. For whatever reason. Like I said, I was kind of playing with a bunch of stuff. Trying to clean some of it out. And the only inventory I can find right now on this one is... where the hell is it? That's somewhere in here. Yeah, the super simple inventory. To which I made everything into standard from URP. Got a billion shaders in this project. So crazy. Well, that's no problem. No problem at all. So, like I said, I was trying to find my inventory one because I figured I'd have questions on that, but I'm gonna have to run through the video and reset that up because I don't even think I have the prefabs for it. Said other than I got these ones. It's a collection. Using the hash table. maybe I do have a lot of the logic for it. Slap it together. So do you have any specific question on it so far? Can do all kinds of little bits of stuff. Made a cannon. All right, so all right. Yeah, like I'm pretty sure that's all prefabs that I made for that. Drag window. Okay, not the canvas though. Canvas is something else.
Sit, Martha. Sit. Sit. Will you not work it? I will work it. Okay. No, it's good.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's definitely a large mix of stuff. That's for sure. Just kind of randomly make things. I don't know why. I don't know. It's also kind of one of those things too. Like I remember when I first started out. There wasn't much for that I was able to find for videos for help. I had to learn everything kind of the hard way. And now I just kind of do stuff. Alright, so we do have a collection sitting there. So you know what? I'm going to go to a new scene. We really don't need to be having all that there. I should have some like default things built. Character controllers and stuff. Why is it not giving me a new scene? That should be giving me a new scene. Oh, it's correct because I'm in play mode. Oh, that was silly. Ah, shit. Not new project. There we go. The save systems, like if you have easy save is actually like a really solid save system when it comes to well, like pretty much anything. It really is. It covers like everything. Actually, I think I have easy save in here. Yeah, I have easy save in here. Like even when it comes to like inventories and stuff, like if you have a collection, I mean, easy save can just do so much. But with that said, I mean, custom save systems are actually pretty easy to build. Thanks. Yeah, totally Canadian. Drinking maple syrup. Played hockey. Actually, I'm drinking a coffee right now. But it's not a Tim Hortons. But the the easy save though, I mean, if you have an inventory, especially if you get on the ecosystem, turret, I could totally do a turret. It would also depend if you want the turret that's just wanting to focus, say, on a player or on anything as well. And you know, it kind of also changes 2D to 3D. I mean, a little bit. I mean, really just the action, the actual method of doing so is quite simple. I can show you that real quick. Let's build a little plane. Let's just put something down here. Let's come out of 2D so I can actually see it, or else that is silly. If I built like a cube, and under the cube, so we can have, you know, something that looks a little cooler. Okay, where's the front of the cube? That way. So let's spin him down. All right, so if we have a cube, should probably make sure it's facing the front, eh? That's not going to work very well. All right, if we had like, if this is our turret, we'll call it a turret, and let's make a little target. Oh, square target. You'd probably want tags. Well, tags or layers. There's really two ways to go about this. And you could do it by trigger or an overlap sphere, really. Like if you have an array list, I love using array lists. I use them all the time. The overlap sphere is just a really solid way to do kind of anything, for finding anything in whatever range. Now we want to fill a list, so we're going to give it targets. We can give it a layer mask, right? So we're not targeting everything. So let's, we're going to say we're going to target players or whatever. Put the cube on a player layer so it can be seen. So this layer is going to fire off and it's going to find anything. So it doesn't happen every frame though. So we can either modify the action, or we can just say, you know what, let's just tell it to kind of do a looping event. Right, and if it loops, I mean, really, I can almost put another next frame in here. So, just an example so far. Like if to have this guy looping, right, he has nothing in his content so far. And if I bring this thing in, he is now, well, he's got this big crazy content happening because he's seeing the cube constantly. So, actually, you know what? Oh, just close that. Didn't mean to close that. I wonder if it'd be easier to use the normal arrays, so we're not adding it constantly. The triggers work too. I mean, they're just kind of a little. Find overlap spheres, radius, layer mask. This is essentially the same thing, right? Only we'd have a this is just the normal array version of it, right? So you have the array list and the array version. Okay, yeah, so that's working. It's not building it up as crazy. So we have that. All right. So if we build we'll just use the normal array then. And you know what? We could probably actually since it actually has events, we might as well use them. No objects and objects. Objecta, apparently. So no objects, we're just going to go loop, get rid of our finish, we don't need it anymore. And if we have something, and this is where we'd want to oh yeah, nope, it'll definitely do that. Well, see, now there's kind of two ways we can go about this. So I also love to use templates, right? So if we want to do it template way, let's actually not. Well, actually, yeah, I guess we still need to use this. Or no, you know what? Let's just go with the next frame. Let's make it simple. You know. So if we wanted to do a template and we had this, and it does its thing, right? This could now output this array, and you might want to put like a radius here as a variable input, so you can control that, right? Default it to 7. Save template, and call this overlap testing, and then we can add on to it after. So on the turret now, if we go back, stupid thing. All right, if you go back into here now and you run FSM, and we call it overlap testing. Right, so we have our radius. We can output our array of items, and this thing here, we can now take this array of items, and we could either just run for the first thing or closest target, whatever the case may be. For now, let's just let's do an array length. So if our length, do it every frame. Actually, I wonder if I have that modified. Which is obviously going to give you an int. So if you now have an int, and if it's greater than 0, we have a target. All right, so we have a target, right? Now, if that's the case, we can now array get, and this is where we can now either choose the closest one in range, or do a random, whatever the case may be. I'm just going to array get the first index, because you're always going to have index 0. So now we have that. So now we could literally just do a smooth look at. ourselves. We're going to look at the target. Keep vertical. Maybe we'll go real slow. I actually do tend to like to use these look-ats, or you can do like the events, or you can do an angle check. But while we're in here, we also want to do a range check. Because we don't want to just sit here and look at this thing forever, because that's silly, right? So if we do like a distance to target now, and if we know the distance has become greater than, well, you're going to want to be at least higher than this guy, greater than say 10.
So here I got it.
Yes. You know, we've lost our target, right? So we just go back. So I mean, just that so far, and we haven't shot anything yet, right? So he's just kind of looking, and if I start bringing him in, this turret's now trying to look at our target, right? And if we get too far away, he stops looking. So we have that so far. And now the firing thing, like the way I would do the firing thing is, once we are looking at our target, and this is where this finishing tolerance can come in, is we can run this kind of aiming event, right? So this is kind of where, if I were to move this cube, let's see this thing in action, over here, he wants to look, but the minute he actually gets close enough, it comes over here. So this guy here, I mean, that a finish tolerance of 1 is pretty small, right? You might want to bring that up a bit, and that will kind of allow a little more of a little more give. Right, but once we know we're looking at the target, we need something to actually shoot, right? Let's make a little rigid body. Just gonna prefab that over there for now. This is probably how I actually lose things. So I would probably want a timer. So this is probably where I would make a template for the actual firing, right? Because once we hit this phase, we're probably going to want some sort of game object, some sort of object that we're going to be shooting from. We're going to want to, obviously we're gonna want a target of where we're shooting it, which is also going to be an input. So we have kind of that happening. So if we were to shoot, the other thing we'd want is kind of like a fire rate. So I'm going to add 1 every frame per second. And I'm going to compare that fire rate to, say, I don't know, 3. And if fire rate is greater, fire. And if you want, you can make this a variable too. And make him an input, right? And we can default them to 3, so we don't forget. And if we fire, well, we need a few things to happen. Set float value, because we want to be able to reset. So set fire rate to 0. And then we're going to want to create our actual cannon, our cannon shot. I'm just going to drag him over. That's the object we're creating. We don't want a parent, so I'm going to make that none. Our spawn point is going to be our shoot from, and we need to store this thing, the created cannon. So we would need a place yeah, I mean, there's various filters we can put in, like say a velocity check and stuff like that. I mean, if you're using velocity, you can also use that to help lead cannon shots as well. Which I'll show you how we kind of run a filter system here in a second. So we would need a direction that we want to fire this from. And one of the easier things I think to do is a vector3 operator. And we need to get positions. We need 2 of those. Because we'd want the position of our target. And we'd also want a position, well, I guess of ourselves, but I'm going to use our shoot from. And we're going to say, okay, target to our start position, subtract them. This is going to give us a direction. I want to normalize this so that I have full control of how far this thing is going to go. I want to normalize the direction. Now we create the cannon, we do all that fun stuff. Vector3 multiply. If we take the direction and multiply it by, and you could have any kind of amount in here or a variable in here. We can now add force to our created cannon shot. I'm going to use the vector of direction, and I'm going to go impulse. Oop. And then finish and go back. So if this is some sort of template for shooting, right, now we have, okay, well, we need, whoops, we need a spot, you know, like something like there, a little higher maybe, and that would be our shoot from. Target's going to be target, fire rate can be whatever it wants. So it fires, and then from here we can now, again, run this same logic. Only now we're not looking for greater than 0. We're actually looking for 0. Or we can also do the distance check as well, which, I mean, might even be a better option. At least then it's not, it won't be maybe quite as would be the word. I don't know what the word is, but it would be a word. So far you'd have cube coming in. He lines up. I obviously didn't give him very much force. Very uneventful almost. So we'd have to ram that force up. The other thing we'd probably want is another smooth look at while we're in here. Only I'm not going to have a finished thing. I'm just going to let it go. Slow it down a little bit. So now, this is kind of your basics on getting it going. Oh, I wonder if I'm colliding with something here. Why are we not getting force? Unless I did that backwards, because I also do that a lot too. But I don't think that was the case. My daughter's running around all crazy. The direction, so we have it is giving me my force. But it is not doing it very well. That's for frickin' sure. Add force to the created cannon, impulse, direction vector. I mean, the other, well, you always could sneak in the Z in there, but world space should be fine. I mean, 504 should be tons. The little cannon's only... Where's the little cannon? Did give him a rigid body, right? Yeah. I'm going to put him onto a different layer. If not, I'll come back to this and we'll figure that part out after. And I'll show you how you can add filters. I just find that really, really weird right now. I'm missing probably something just totally dumb too. Like there's like every now and then like I'll throw in like a action here that has like an event and I end up skipping one of these things. Right? And if I add something like that, which is also one of the other options you could do. That's weird. It's not. It's almost like it's bypassing it completely. I wonder if I'm actually using modified force. I do that sometimes. Okay, whatever. I'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. So filter-wise, like you said, like you were thinking, have the turret not shoot on none moving, right? Target and range. So if you had a moving check, which I mean you easily also could, actually you could get speed. Get speed might be one of those. So I have the two physics things. I have Chronos in here. So might be messing that up. Get speed. I'm going to move this to the top. Now, if you want any of this a thing like this to happen prior to this stuff happening, you're also going to want to put these things in order. Right? Like I want to make sure I'm running this almost as a higher priority than anything else down here. Like even this distance one can actually come up above the shooting. So if the target speed is, say, I don't know, less than 1, we'll call it. We can say lost target. Nah, no, because it's going to go do the infinite thing. You know what? That's fine. We can bypass the infinite loop with the next frame event. So if this object, which currently obviously isn't using physics, if we put physics on it, we're going to have to add some sort of way to apply physics to it, because I can't just drag it around with the mouse, because that's not going to work. All right, so that one little filter there, which is a pretty simple filter, right? If we move the cube, why is my physics just so messed up? Probably because I spelled horizontal wrong. How about that? Or no, probably because I have I think I've got the other input system in here as well. All right, you know what? 2 ways to do this. I can force it. Not the direction I wanted to go, but there we go. All right, so we'll just move this guy over. So as this cube is using force to actually drive around, this thing's going to go, right? And he wants to fire. And if I actually stop him, see, he won't fire anymore. He's hitting this speed, and he's like, you know what? There's something. He's still tracking it, and we could also prevent that by kind of maybe running another filter in there, but he won't fire at this thing anymore. But if I speed him up, he wants to fire again. Now, again, I don't know why my physics is so weird right now. I kind of want to just test something real quick, because this should be... I mean, if you didn't run it in a normal run FSM. Let's do a wait. This is just to make sure this physics isn't being screwed up because of the template, because that's I've seen that happen too with templates. What the hell I was working on? I was working on something, and just the fact it was in a template, man, the system just did not like it. Oh, I'm gonna not run that for a minute. Oh, I guess it would help if I filled those things out. Yeah, I pass out all the time with my kid. What a troublemaker she is. I've got 3 of them though, so it's just one of those things. I see that one's still not doing force. It is just so weird that I can't get force. Like even with that, I mean, like it should be. Watch it all be because I got colliders on. Something stupid. Right there, we should be driving force up all crazy as we're creating it. And unless it's, I don't know, I can't see it being this either. There's something, I screwed around with my physics somewhere. That I tend to have up because I also sometimes do lots of physics things, I suppose, really. But yeah, we're not getting force. Like that is just extremely weird that I can't get force. Well, that's the thing. I mean, it has the rigid body, right? Like it's got rigid body. That shouldn't affect it. It's got a sphere. It's got a mass. Everything is good, and yet I can apply force to my cube. Go figure. Mind you, I'm just using the set velocity on it, so that I don't know, maybe that's something I just gotta do. I don't know. Well, take a look. Instead of adding force, let's just set velocity. Which, I mean, is fine. I mean, setting velocity isn't. Actually, I use that a fair bit. We want world space though because of how I calculated the direction. Alright, so let's temporarily get rid of the speed check. Oh, well, there it goes. So something screwy with my add force action. So which could be because I have Chronos in here. And I was playing with the physics actions themselves, so I might have screwed something up. Now obviously, okay, well I don't need those here. I can use my little FSM that I made. And let's not, you know, ram it up to some crazy amount. Now 15 is probably high enough for something like set velocity. Alright, so we're doing our, let's take away the speed check, make sure he fires. So there we go. Yeah, so something screwy with my add force. Yours should work. But if not, I mean, the set velocity works too. I also use that for jumping sometimes on 2D because it is a little snappier compared to the add force. Now, if you want to add any kind of, well, lots of times if you add filters, lots of times I'll end up making a whole area for it. Where this, I've kind of put this all into one. Lots of times when I add filters, I'll kind of run a system, kind of almost separating things out. And you run things kind of like this, right? Like we have less than lost target, it's greater than, you know, pass, or I'll use like a pass fail, and then I'll come down, I'll just run like a whole nother filter somewhere here, and then I don't know what other filter, I mean maybe the target has health or something like that. You know, he goes through, and so you'll run down, you can run like, I don't know, as many filters as you want, and when you're done you just pop over there, right? If we lost target, come down here. But doing it this way with this guy, every time he shoots, then you're gonna want to come back up here, or have it come up here in some way. And one thing you could do here is, like we have set float value. I don't know if anyone runs these too often, but you can run send events, and you can call events to your host. Like, so for example, let's go, I'll call it run filters. And then actually from there we can actually just kind of end it like that, leave them just like that, or you can finish FSM, right? So then in here we don't need an action. All we need is the transition, right? So we'd just add a transition, or you can even use global transitions as well, because I made it a global. But it's kind of one of the cool things that you can do with the whole templates, is you start having these things talking to hosts, or going the other way and do subs. All right, so he's running his filter. You know, okay, I guess he needs to compare. Let's just turn that off. And set target speed up automatically, so we'll see it. And he'll fire. I should fire. See how it ran filter there? So you have this kind of this loop happening, but it's coming from this guy, right? and you can do all sorts of those. You can branch those into crazy different little things too. So let's bring him. But hopefully that kind of gives you a little more idea on a way that you could do turrets. Anyways, so one of the other ways you can also do, which makes it really easy, it's not quite as reliable though, but if you put like a sphere collider and you just ram up its distance, and you simply just do a very, very simple trigger event. You need two of those actually, right? You have it on trigger enter, and say you target player tag. Right, so you're entering, so we're going to add something, and you just array add. So you have to have an array of something anyways, and it's of type game objects. And then you just finish right back into here, and then over here you do literally the exact same thing, but on trigger exit, and now you remove. And this works like a replacement to the sphere cast. But like I said, and it works, and it can be a pretty effective system, but I don't find it as dependable as this sphere cast. But if I come over here now, oh, and of course, if you have it triggered, I had them based on a tag, so you know that will help. Sorry, so he's got the cube in his array. No cube. Cube, no cube. Right, so it becomes a pretty good simple system as an alternate to using the overlaps. Right, and it works. Like you can bring in all kinds of different little things here, right? Would help if my guy was on the proper level here. Right, as you see, like there, it's filling up and it's emptying out as you go through. So it can work pretty good. So now I don't find it as dependable as the overlap though. But it's probably a little better on performance though. But that is one thing that you can do that would replace like this whole overlap. You could just run another FSM or put that into a template and run based on trigger. One of the benefits of that is this way you have a tag filter, and the overlap you have a layer filter. Yeah, I have done custom work. I do. I mean, I always try to keep it relatively smaller stuff because I got so many things that I'm working on. Like I'm doing a lot of my, like I had it on my channel about the Squid Game. So I've been working on Squid Game stuff. Like that's like a room I built this morning. Maybe I built it last night. That's characters. My lava. Built it. Well, I don't know. Like I was doing it all in 2D. I almost think tags typically are better because there isn't a limit on tags. So they're quite useful. But it kind of really comes down to design on what it's going to be. But I mean, layer wise, you're limited to those layers. That's it. That's all you get, right? So you're going to want various layers for certain things. And really, when it comes to your gameplay systems you want to put in, you're only really going to have a handful of layers that you can play with. Tag wise though, you can add tags until the cows come home. It does not matter. You can have 1,000 tags. So now like if you have that would be a good example. Like if you're making a horror game or whatever, and you want interactable things, like that's kind of what I did with what did I call it? Just did this yesterday, I thought. Turn animations. Ow. Anyways, with the head looking, is you can mark various things with a tag saying, hey, this is an interactable object. So then as your player moves around, he would see yeah, like actually with the Squid Game thing, it's I didn't copy Squid Games per se. There's a couple games that are obviously the same, but I'm working on the logic, and then I want to take the logic that I've built with it and do a bunch of tutorials on how to rebuild it. But I did it in 2D just for something different. I don't know why. But the most recent one, I just did a Plinko board, which was kind of comical. I was working on it. But this is my little like my little Plinko board. As a game, like I'm still building the logic on this one. But I could like go over to the cannon. Where is it? Tell him to fire.
Shit.
As you see in the game, where it's game wise. And then I'm using a ragdoll.
God damn. God damn. God damn. Shit.
And then and this is kind of where some of the logic I got to do, right? Like where if it ends, if you land in the lava, you're toast. If you don't land in the lava, well, then you live. So it's just kind of like a little, almost a mini game. So I'm working on that, but I mean I've got oh god, hot potato, red light, green light. I'm working on Simon Says, got tug of war. There's a little brawl night I made. And where this is just, it runs all your players. And I've got it to 1 minute. I'm going to cut it down to 30 seconds, where you can either run off to one of the corners and the whole thing ends and you stay safe. Beyond that, if you want to stay there and fight, people die and people keep spawning in as long as there's players, and it just goes. But health damage is permanent within the game, and the brawl nights are random in between the other games. So Oh god, it's just it's so huge. It's such a major thing.
Today you play red light, green light. Rules are move on green, stop on red.
See, and with the mechanics in this is all based
Green
on
light,
more or less two different arrays.
red light.
There's usually lots of blood, but there can't be any blood right now because I put the blood in a pooling system, and the pooling system actually comes from the main scene. So it's, you know, it's got errors, like it's, but it'll like and really for all the logic to run, you actually got to start it right from the beginning. Because I built a like the whole pooling system and stuff. Like it's a singleton, I guess you can call it. And I tend to like to use those for various things. But I'm converting it to mobile anyways.
Welcome to the games. Complete 5 games and the prize is yours.
And all of the voice I also did too, right? Like I don't know if you guys ever run that, but I run. So many things open. This thing here, it's free. And you just more or less hit record, you got your mic, and you can do stuff, right? Like, we're doing a live stream kind of idea. And this thing's really, I say it's totally free too. We're doing a live stream, right? And you can sit there and you could change all sorts of stuff on it.
We're doing a live stream.
We're doing a live stream.
You can fade them, echo them. There's tons of stuff. And then when you're done, like you literally just export into a wave, drag it into Unity, and off you go. Yeah, it's pretty cool, and it's free, which is kind of one of the cooler things about it. And then one of the other things I do is I use Sprite, right, to make a lot of my work as well. And it's a beautiful little program. I really enjoy running Sprite. Yeah, it has some controversial things around it, being freeware and stuff like that. I know there's been some things happen with it and various accusations for it as well. I don't know. I mean, I use it for now. Eventually, I'll get some sort of super professional system one day, maybe. I don't know. So, what else can we make? What else can we see? I don't even know what else I even have in here. I got tons of stuff in here. Melber's animations. He's a really good dev. I really like Melber's. He's a nice guy too. Oh Lord. Oh, it was in Spanish. One second. Yeah, I'm like, oh my god, I have to translate that. I mean, I can understand broken German. That's about it. I have German grandparents. Turn-based strategy RPG. Pretty much for the inventory systems, like on the root, it has the update event. So it should be able to, that if you call that from any point in time, it should update everything. And so from anywhere in your logic, you can more or less say, I mean, really, you could even broadcast it and just say broadcast event update. And it should hit that thing and call everything to repaint that UI. Yeah, I don't know, the turn-based. Actually, I actually really enjoy doing the turn-based. I've got some of that, I think, in here even. I think I still have it in here. Start slamming my keyboard. It's probably why I get like a billion spelling mistakes. Oh yeah, that's right. This is what your projects look like if you swap back and forth in all the render pipelines, right? Then you have to turn around and reset things up. Where's my terrain? I have so many shaders in here. It's just crazy. Standard nature, terrain, normal little terrain. And of course, they're all kind of messed up. But this was my my little turn-based one that I was working on too, right? And it's a really neat little system. With the map and the way it works, and like I don't know, if it's grid-based, things are a little different though. But really, when it comes to grid, everything is all about isn't so much like a grid in the ways of a physical object. It's really just the math on how it's done. I was actually thinking of doing a XCOM style game, like for a tutorial, because I think it's relatively challenging for a couple of the things in there, but it's at the same time it's not, right? Because I don't know if anyone's seen my little finger car drawing on the thing, but I mean it's it's kind of an interesting little thing, because it's like the movement and the turn-based of the movement and like rendering a path and limiting that whole system based on a distance. It seemed really complex in the start of it, but really when it comes down to it, you have a line renderer and you're drawing a path. That's really about it. And you iterate in between each point, calculating the distance to the next point, and you come out with a final number. But I do it in, I don't know if I have my mobile one in here. but I do it in one of them anyways, where you can draw or draw a path, and then I had AI follow those paths. But XCOM style would be kind of fun to get into, and it's like I said, it's kind of a different thing, just in general, because you're looking at, oh Lord, Thundering, that panel isn't nearly as big as I thought that was like a train, like I'm like a kilometer out. No, I'm only like 10 feet out. Right, but I mean, if you wanted to draw like a path somewhere, being AI, you might even get away with just collecting the nav point. The corners, right? Because if you had a capsule, right? Now, obviously, you need an FSM, that's for sure. Distance by corners. Where is agents? Or I guess just path. Whoa. Dropping everything all of a sudden. Agent reset path. Set path. Auto path has path. Set agent path. What do I... Agent set path. What's the difference between those two? Why do I have two of those? What's going on here? Oh, that's just actually give them the path that's created. What, is there no like calculate path? I could have sworn there was a calculate path. Yeah, well, okay, well, be it then. So crazy. But this is, I'll slow them right down so we can see. Right, so if you had an agent that was going to move, and he's going to chase. Now, there is a path technically happening in here, right? Which is how the agent's moving just to begin with. So if you tap into that, with such as get path, I could have sworn there was some. I might have to go to the ecosystem to grab a few, because there's more stuff for pathing. I'm sure of it. I mean, if not, I could always make them. It's not a big deal, I suppose. Navmesh. Calculate path. There we go. There's calculate path. Between objects. I could always use that one too. Be a little easier. Calculate path to the cube. Oh, that's supposed to be on ourselves. Right, but he should now have, actually, I think they have to have a path, yeah, path component. So that you have corners. And this is kind of one of those sneaky little things. It's one of those components that you might not see, but see how we have corners? Now, obviously there isn't much for corners, right? It's pretty much a start and stop for in his case. But it's those things right there that we can actually we can grab all of those. Pastel get has path, auto path. All right, now we want to, we don't want to calculate it. We don't want the links. We don't want that. There might be an action for that there too. Anyways, but we can actually get, let's drag them over. We can actually get these vectors. So you end up getting a we grab these two and we put them into a array, right? There's our array of points. And then we could very, very easily, you simply just put a line renderer, right? You can give it a material. Let's go over to our grids. Let's create a new material. I'll call it agent path. Drag it over there. You know, maybe make it a lot thinner. So then we can get vector length, or not vector length, array length. Get one of those. So we have our path points and we need the length. And once we have the length, we more or less can call everything now into here, right? We can say call, we're going to set positions, vector 3 and array. And we can say there's your path points. And we also need to set a property on it because we need the number of positions to be the length, right? And then you would more or less come over here, come back. We don't need him. And let's just run a next frame event. And we should have it's drawing a path on which way the AI wants to go. And now drawing a straight line looks, you know, all cool and all, but how am I not full of crap right now, right? So if we take something like this, mark both those as static, bake them into the nav mesh. Right, so now we're drawing a path. Where we're using each of the corners on the nav mesh to actually draw that path. And if I actually take this cube and move them, apparently I put get properties on. There we go. This path will actually bend and move around. So we can actually abuse that, and you could limit the path on a distance, but you can set the path now and then be like, okay, well, we're going to go here, click go, and now your AI follows this path. Yeah, the like the distance, I mean, to get the distance, it's a little different. So now this is to calculate the path between two objects. All right, so let's get rid of this object and let's use calculate path. So calculate path needs positions, obviously, so we need to get position. For one of them, because that's going to be our start. So the source is our start, and then we also need a, oh, not every frame. We also need a mouse pick. So mouse pick, we can store the hit point as end. And now we use that as the end. So that's kind of one part of it now. It doesn't limit it, but it will. Should now. Oh, I have that stupid get property on every frame for some reason. Oh, we're not storing our hip. Oh, guess it would help if I actually put the camera up over here, eh? Because it has to raycast from a camera. All right, let's see. Why is it not seeing? Mouse pick. No, that should be. Maybe it was screen pick. I don't think it was screen pick. No, yeah, I'm sure it was mouse pick. Maybe it's because the mouse pick takes a little longer. Let's give it a layer mask, maybe. Hit default. I mean, obviously, you might want to like mask that out a little differently, but. Ray distance. Oh, you know what? You know why that's not working? Anytime you're going to use UI stuff, always make sure you have an event system. Oh, I should probably have, oh, okay, I do have the Playmaker UI, or GUI in there. No, that's still being, I mean, it needs the event system. All right, let's put that to every frame. Why is that? Cameras tagged main camera. Hit point. I'm totally missing something here, I know it. And it's going to be, again, it's going to be something, one of those small, stupid things. Oh, well, I guess it would help if I wasn't using the scene view, eh? All right, so that should be fine then, as long as as long as I keep the mouse actually on the screen. All right, so let's get mouse. There we go. So now we have the mouse. All right, so now that we have the mouse, path point is empty. Calculate path. Start and end. That's going to come back down here because we don't need this over here anymore. So we're calculating those. Wonder if I should, I wonder if I should sample position to make sure that's hitting. Use the end position, distance, and position is calculate the end. Now let's take those. So we get our positions. Calculate the end. Stick that guy back up here so we can get our positions. And in the start, do our calculations in here. Oh. Source position. It does not like running. What? Why is that not? I'm supposed to be on use owner. I didn't switch that. I swear to God. Maybe I did switch it. I don't remember switching it though. Whatever. All right. So, but now it's based on the mouse. Oh, yeah. Don't go off screen when you don't. Which is kind of why you want to use those things like the sample, because it'll prevent things like that. And go off screen. It's like, oh my God, I can't calculate this. This is crazy. Right. But this can now technically all be based on get mouse button down, left, say go. Then while we're in this cycle, let's get mouse button and bool test. So we get the mouse button, we'll just call it left, and if left is false, we're going to go back. But now do I have that thing set again? Make sure I have that set properly. Yes. All right, so I click and I can calculate the path so far, and I let go and it stays there, right? Until I go off. Now distance, maximum distance wise, plane. I'll have to rebank that, or else that's going to cause us issues. So I think the way you'd want to do the maximum distance is if you sample the position, the ending position, like you almost need to build two kind of arrays here, right? Because as you go through, you'd more or less need to array get next. Because as you go through the path points, you need a loop and a done. The result is the current vector. So as you loop through all the path points, you're also going to want the index actually. The first thing you're going to want to do is just make sure the index isn't 0, because if the index is 0, then it's, you know, this is the first one. Don't do anything with it, right? And in fact, you can actually set float value. Total distance to 0. Back that way, and if it's greater, then add. Now with that said, I do remember seeing calculate agent distance by corners. I'm almost curious if that works. I wonder if that's why I got that. So let's add this real quick. Prior to getting into this crazy calculation. I mean, we'd still probably need to get into calculation, because calculating the distance is one thing, but you'd have to limit it, right? I'm not seeing any kind of, yeah, that's not even doing anything anyways. Yeah, no, like I said. So, I mean, really, you're going to calculate the distances. So if it's the first one, we're just going to set to 0. But after that, after we do that, we would need to do a distance check and then add that distance to a total amount. So we would need to int operator. Let's take the index and let's subtract 1. We'll just call this last. Array get path points at the index last. Do an array list. Now we have that. And then what do we need? We would need a distance check. Or get. So we get distance of current vector, last vector, current distance, float add, total distance, add current distance, Athena. Daughter's starting to go feral. Oh, I didn't put the done event in. Right, because now we should have, which I know it probably looks all wild, right? So we have a distance now of 36.2. Right, so we're controlling the distance. I don't know how the distance is set at 30. It's not resetting, I don't think. Why is it doing? Why is it saying a distance of that? The Y's are the same, that's the same. The X's are completely different. You know what? I'm not trusting that get distance. I'm just going to look at the vector operator. So current vector to last vector distance is current distance. Something weird with that get distance too. See, that's a lot better. You know, total distance is 11. The 11 distance. Okay, cool. So now we can see the distance that we're dealing with. Now we just need to limit the distance that we're dealing with. So that's kind of one thing there. So, okay, where are we painting the? So I'm going to set these. Oh, crazy stuff happening. We want to set the properties. We're going to do that after, up in here. Right, so we'll do all the calculations first, do the pathing stuff first, and then we're going to want, you know, a max distance variable, and maybe it's, I don't know, 25. There's an input. Force a habit. So once we come here, we can just now float compare. So if total distance, max distance, if it's less, keep going. If it's greater, stop. If it's equal, well, stop. All right, so just briefly, let's stuff that over there for a minute. Let's make sure that part works. Oh, what happened there? Clicking the mouse button before I was watching. All right, there's our path, and if we start getting too far, apparently like really far, that or I'm zoomed in a lot farther than I thought. So let's look at max. Let's bring that down to like 10, because it's getting pretty wild. If I gotta take the mouse way the hell over there. No, don't start down there. All right, yeah, so there, now it's forced to not go any farther. So when it stops, you would more or less, well, let's just go up here for a minute. Yeah, so we would definitely need to modify. Definitely need to modify. So we'd have, so once we're going to stop, we would have to more or less we need another state, because what we really need to do is be building another array this entire time, right? So if, for example, we are here, no, we are, well, I guess really once we grab it, come along, we go over here. If we keep going, we want to array add. So we need a new array. And that's supposed to be an array, not just a vector. But it is a vector, or is an array of vectors. Now we know what we're doing. So we would array add the current vector. If we're going to keep going, and then we would go into here. So this guy here is, we would want to we need him here as well. This is everything to do with the array. So we would want this guy and that guy. So we want to use our kind of our built array that we're rebuilding. Because if it's not like if it's going to stop, we just kind of build it, I guess you could say. Now the only thing is once we're back out of here, we're going to need to array resize, or array reset, I guess you could say it would be the other one, because that should allow us to at least limit the distance a bit. We're missing our first point. So we'd have to rebuild. We gotta get a first point in there, because our first point, if it's the first one, so he goes in there. We need to add him. Can't be missing our first point. That's screwing things up. And then once we get over to a distance, see now it's saying stop. Right there. It's not taking our last point. We need to make sure that last point is in there. But yeah, I mean, ultimately that's what you're doing. You have to get the distance between every corner though, and add them up, which is what the operator's doing, right? So now the last point is ultimately that endpoint. So we need to add him into the array, or we have to take the last. Yeah, you know. If he stops, you got to get that last point in there. So you would need array get see, well, with the points, it's kind of a crappy one. I'll also look at how I did the other one, because I fully had it limited to like 20, or you could take it. This one downside about doing it this way is you're also going to limit it to the corners. So if you don't have a corner, it's not like you can like go from here in a straight line and have it limit halfway, and you should be able to. I mean, if you're doing like an XCOM style, I mean, you'd want to limit that. So you'd have to find where that limit's going to be and go from that one vector and multiply it by whatever distance you have left, and then create a new endpoint. And I'm just not going to have time for that. It's almost 2 o'clock. But that is something I can definitely look into. We could look into more of a turn-based XCOM control style system. Build some templates for it. But yeah, I just don't think I'm gonna have time in the next few minutes. So is there anything else on the light side, small side, like a 5-minute question that we can get into? Maybe, I don't know. Possibly. And Zima came in, eh? But for the meantime, total distance. So because those half distances are kind of messed up. Like you'd almost want to rebuild the whole vector to begin with. You'd be taking those 2 points, and if it's good, you would add it. If it's not good, if you're gonna stop, you would have to take whatever total distance is, or the max distance, total distance, subtract them, get a remaining distance, yeah, that driver ragdoll was comical. Online LAN and character selection, I could probably do something. Probably figure out something for those. One of these days, what we were talking about in the Discord is if I get my hands on the playfab actions, I don't necessarily even need them. I can build them myself, but the playfab actions, there's like over 1,000 actions. I was like, fuck, you know. There's a lot of people I think would love to see some playfab stuff for the online. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, and the grid definitely could work for something like that. But yeah, so you have the remaining distance, right? So if you take the last, so you, int operator, because you'd have to take the last, or the index, you want to add 1 to it. This is the next index. Array get, because you would need the next position of the path points at next index, next vector. Right, so now you have the remaining distance, and you more or less, now you have 2 vectors where you can calculate something. Oh, how do I get, I was talented. Right, so vector 3 operator, because you would have to take next vector, current vector, subtract them, get your direction, vector 3 multiply the direction by the remaining distance, another operator, and take the current vector, direction, add them, get the last vector, and then array add, shit's getting freaking complicated with this one. Vectors in array distance, the new last vector, and then build it. Let's take this camera out a bit. The Discord, actually, I just updated on my on the info. Oh, we have an error. What is the error? I did one of the calculations wrong. Actually, in the YouTube description thing, I just updated it yesterday and gave it a infinite lifetime thing for the Discord, but it's the official Discord. The Playmaker guys asked me to moderate it. I'm not technically part of Playmaker, but because I'm there constantly, I'm like always there, like daily. All right, so what we would need, you'd almost have to put a compare in here to make sure that there is an index, like the next index. Vector, so we're getting the direction and we multiply it, the remaining distance. Oh, did I do the math on the remaining distance part messed up? Out of anything I could have messed up, that's what I messed up. Like lower tundra. Oh, no. It's trying. Not quite there. There's still something screwy with my math. I'll have to fix that. But it is trying. It is definitely trying. Let's come out of play mode on that. Right, because we are taking, keep going, stop. So we take index, we add, get path points. The next index is the next vector. Yes. Max distance. No, I think that would be that. I'm pretty sure that would be. Might have to reverse. You use an absolute on it or something like that. So the next vector to the current vector is a direction. I wonder if I got my direction all screwy. Because we'd want multiple, because we're going from the current vector and we're adding the direction. We're getting a new last vector. We build the vector in. We get our links. We call it. Yeah, there's just something messed up in my little math here. It's so close. It's so close. It's got to be like right there. I'm going to try to swap these. You wouldn't believe how often I get certain things backwards, especially on float compares. I don't know if it's just me. Like if I was to write it in C, I don't mess them up at all. But the minute I'm in Playmaker, I do the float compares. So often it's like, nope, did it backwards, type of idea. Like just constantly. Yeah, see what. Once it hits that one point there, it's taking the next point and it's putting it someplace really weird. Oh, you know what? I probably shouldn't be using the next point. I should probably be using the mouse position as the next vector. That would probably make a little more sense. Because there doesn't need to be a next vector, right? Like if I get rid of the next vector and we simply just do a quick little mouse pick, I could even call it the end again, it really doesn't matter. I really hate how lack of distance I have on that. I'm really going to move that camera up permanently. Like it's just crazy. Just crazy. So let's go over. If you bring these up too far, by the way, it'll kill your performance sometimes. What was I doing? Oh yeah, max distance. Where's my max distance? Let's bring that down. 8 doesn't seem like very high. Okay, yeah. So it's still going to my mouse. Okay, I probably got to fix one little thing up in there, but it's at least trying to go to the mouse, not going to some imaginary thing anymore. Probably pretty good. So we get the end, current vector, and get a direction. I'm pretty sure that should be the other way around. Direction, multiply, current vector, we add those, get a new last vector, and we add it all in. I mean, I don't know, that should be pretty damn close. I mean, we should probably drop the navmesh sample position on it, so it's sitting on the navmesh too. But there's something weird because it shouldn't be. As you were mouse picking the end, get the direction, multiply it, get that distance. See, I'm getting a negative distance, but that's the remaining distance. That's but it shouldn't have that last vector in there, right? Because we're doing it, we're taking that and we're adding the direction. We get a new last vector and we add the last vector.
Smokey, you stay?
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things I'm going to have to play around with the get. There's got to be something I'm missing on that math part, right? But I mean, the vector itself here is working fine, but it's once I get there, like it should stop, like it should mark that spot, right? Because that's really what it's looking at, right? Because we're taking our current, we're building that direction, and then we're taking the last spot, which is here, and we're adding, or we're multiplying that by the remaining amount, and then more or less building a point somewhere, going from the last point out, and then adding that. So there's probably something there I'm just kind of missing. Diffuse? I'm not 100% sure what you mean. Oh, now it's 2:05. Lord Thunder, super late. How long do you diffuse before quitting? I never quit. I just keep going forever and ever. But anyways, I should probably wrap this up. It's now been over 2 hours. But I'll look into the math. I'll figure something a little better out. I'll look into the character selection and stuff like that. Online LAN. I wonder what would be good for online LAN. Probably almost just a mirror thing. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. Oh, just about to stop it pretty much now. And then I was debating at some point in time of doing another one of these kind of live streams, but then focus it on Photon, because I also know there's a pile of Photon questions out there, and I was like, fuck. I was almost kind of worried with that, because it was, because depending on the style of questions, like what assets do I have and do I have loaded? And I was like, oh my god, if it's a bunch of pun questions, I gotta have my pun assets ready to go, and if there isn't pun questions, there's no point in having this stuff ready. It's all crazy. But anyways, thank everyone for watching, and I'll look at doing some more of these. We'll set up some stuff, and I'll have to find my inventory thing, and I can bring in some more of the inventory stuff for sure. Said I was cleaning things up. I replaced all my layers and tags and stuff. I have to redo a bunch of that stuff now. Lesson learned, don't bring in templates. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys later.